Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, entitled Mom Has a Problem with Me Volunteering at the Hospital. After that, landlord refuses to pay me back my deposit, ends up regretting it after I take him to court. And after that, brother steals my life savings. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen will lose in court. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And huge shout out to Patty, our newest channel member. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Become a member today and I'll give you a special shout out in our next video. Entitled Mom Has a Problem with Me Volunteering at the Hospital. Cast. We've got Entitled Mom, we've got the nice kid, we've got Medical Assistant Mom, and me. Backstory. I volunteer at my local VA medical center. I used to do it at first just to see what it was like. Now I enjoy it. I signed up for a clinical and administrative job for different days, and I enjoy both of them. Both of my parents work in the medical industry, one of them being on the front line of what's going on. I went shopping so I don't go too insane from being stuck at home. Those who have badges from working in a hospital can invite more people, 2-person max, and even get a discount. Me, knowing that I volunteered at a hospital, decided to do an experiment. My parents and I came with our badges and masks on, and we were all let in. Everything was normal. We were just shopping and talking about our garden. My mom and I were asked to get frozen fruit because I like to mix fruit in with my protein shakes until the gates of heck have opened. Right when I turn around with my frozen strawberries, maskless Entitled Mom stops me right in my tracks and eyes my volunteer badge. Entitled Mom, shouldn't you be at home? Me, why are you asking me this? You're a volunteer. You shouldn't be out here. Me, neither should you. You're not wearing a mask. Nonetheless, following the distancing rule. At least I have a paying job. That's when it hit me. Me, are you saying that I shouldn't be here because I'm not getting paid for what I do? Exactly. You are exploiting the benefits of working in a hospital. Let the real workers have their benefits. Me, I don't need a paycheck for working in a hospital. It's something I enjoy doing. That'll change soon. Medical Assistant Mom turns around, seeing a strange woman in my face, so she approaches us, hoping to dissolve the quarrel. I can sense the mama bear in her already. My mom, I'm sorry, but what's going on? Entitled Mom, finally, actual medical personnel. Can you tell this poser to get the heck out of here? Well, hopes of dissolving it peacefully have gone out the window. My mom, excuse me, you cannot tell my daughter that. Sneaky Intellion can count as medical personnel as she also works with patients. Does she come in contact with patients with that horrid disease? Me, thinking, playing that card? Me, the volunteering season is closed until it dies down. See? She is a deadbeat. What kind of parent are you, letting your kid be entitled? You ought to scold her. Me, coming from a Karen. My mom and Entitled Mom's kid laughed. She gets in my face and yells at me. I don't know who you are, but you better not disrespect your adults. If you love your mother so much, then take that badge off and get the heck out of here. Entitled Mom leaves, but her kid stays behind. Nice kid. Hey man, sorry about that. My mom is just scared because of what's going on. She saw you with your mom and she got angry and wanted to check to see if you should be here or not. Personally, I like that you volunteer at a hospital. Me, thanks. You should try volunteering at the VA when the season opens. Nice kid. Maybe I will sometime. Nice kid leaves to go catch up with her mom. After that, my mom and I return to the cart with the frozen berries. I've met Karens before, but that's because they hate me for having colored hair, liking anime, or listening to metal. Never have I ever had an encounter as bad as this. Landlord refuses to pay me back my deposit, ends up regretting it after I take him to court. Back in 2018, I had a temporary internship in California at a large tech company, so I took a recommendation from a friend about a room for rent. It would be living with 5 other people, but otherwise it looked fantastic with spacious common areas, multiple huge TVs, huge amenities, community rec center with a pool, short drive times to multiple places of interest, all for $650 a month, utilities included. I contacted the landlord. He seemed fine on the phone, so I sent him my security deposit to move in a month later. When it came time to move in, I discovered a few caveats that came with this low rent price. The common areas were all dusty. None of the 3 large TVs worked properly. If we wanted access to the rec center and pool, we'd need to pay the $80 a month membership fee, and all of the short drive time estimates were exaggerated, unless you were speeding at 2 times the speed limit. Whatever, it's not the end of the world, especially at the relatively low price. I'll survive. But then it got worse in the coming months. Landlord decided to charge us an extra $20 a month for paper towels and public cleaning supplies. Landlord only checked the community mailbox once a week when he was in town and refused to trust anybody with the mailbox key. As it starts to roll into the summer, in June, landlord decided that AC cost too much and we were using it too much, so he removed the thermostat from the wall. Okay. One day, some of us tenants confronted him when he was at the house, since landlord also slept at the house about 1 day a week, and I'll never forget his words as he rushed out of the house. "It's legal for me to do this, and I don't care since I don't have to live here." Well, sir, forget you. I'm tilted as heck at this guy's obvious money grab from 6 tenants. Well, it turns out he's right. He legally doesn't need to provide air conditioning. So the next day, I purchase a high BTU-free standing portable air conditioner that exhausts out of the window. This thing was luxury. Of course, I pump my room to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, the lowest setting. We have a couple other minor disagreements that wind up with crappy landlord texting me that it's fine if I wanted to break my lease and move out early. Perfect. When landlord finally gets a whiff of my AC setup, he comes to my room to complain about my AC unit. I reply curtly, "It's legal for me to do it, and I don't care since I don't have to pay for electricity." He leaves and later sends me a text. Yeah, okay. Unbeknownst to landlord, I'm taking his move-out offer seriously, and this whole time I've been rallying the troops. All the tenants have been upset about everyone's living situation, so with some minor encouragement, I managed to convince 2 of the other 6 tenants to move out at the same time as me. They were on a month-to-month agreement. I finally submit all our notices of intent to vacate at the same time, barely a week after my previous conversation with landlord. He is mad. He was just trying to get me out of the house, but now he has 3 rooms to fill instead of just 1. I ask about my legally mandated pre-move-out inspection. In no uncertain terms, he told me to go forget myself. He said he's too busy to perform an inspection. Well, that's illegal, but okay. Time comes to move out. I found another room for rent much closer to the office for only $100 more per month. We all move out, and I text landlord about my security deposit. No response. I text again. No response. Okay, I see where this is going. I spend days and days reading the law, compiling evidence and screenshots, and listing the laws that were broken. The smoking gun was the statute that requires a pre-move-out inspection and a list of things to fix, and itemized list of deductions within 21 days, or else landlord loses the right to withhold any of my deposit. In addition, he would be subject to treble damages if he's found to be acting in bad faith. I text again and again. I give him plenty of leniency, and I even cite the laws so I can prove in court that I'm acting in good faith. And landlord intentionally ignores the laws that I made him aware about. Landlord probably thinks I'm a young pushover college student who won't follow through with legal threats. Well, sir, we're going to court because I'm petty as heck when it comes to people trying to do me over. I file in small claims for $650 plus treble damages, plus court costs. Landlord files a counterclaim of $2,000 for damages to the property, claiming I caused flooding and I broke the microwave. Okay, buddy. In response, I gather testimonies from 3 of the other tenants and I build my case into a 40-page packet of evidence, complete with page numbers, a table of contents, and descriptions for every screenshot and photo. I make 3 copies of everything and submit it to the court and the defendant landlord. The court date is set for November, and I leave the state just before Christmas, so just in time to appear in person. Landlord thinks if I'm no longer in the state, he'll automatically win since I'm not willing to fly back to California. Well, unbeknownst to landlord, California courts offer an option to appear by telephone. He starts filing to request to postpone the trial a total of 3 times. The 3rd request is finally denied because even the courts are getting tired of his crap. Final date is January. Court day comes and I get the call. I'm sworn in and then connected to the court. I'm given time to present my case. Unfortunately, I didn't prepare a script, so I kind of summarized the events and explained why I deserve money. Then landlord gets time to defend himself and explain his counterclaim. He doesn't prepare anything either and ends up rambling about random crap that doesn't help his case at all. For example, he spends a lot of time explaining how another one of his tenants was crappy and so his behavior was justified. He doesn't even have a sliver of evidence for his counterclaim when the judge asks for it. The judge asks a few more questions and announces that he'll review the evidence and will get the decision in the mail. A couple of weeks later, I get the judgment saying I'm owed $650. Landlord gets nothing. Well, dang, no treble damages for me. However, it's just my luck. The landlord is a jerk that won't accept defeat. He files an appeal for who knows what. It's granted. Redo trial is scheduled for May. This time, I'm 10 times more prepared. Once again, I'm sworn in and then they connect me to the courtroom speaker. This time, I have a hashed out script that I read, making sure to emphasize how often I informed the landlord of the law, how often landlord knowingly broke the law, and how I offered so much leniency and so many opportunities to do the right thing. Once again, landlord doesn't prepare anything, but instead rambles on so much that even the judge tells him to get back on track multiple times. Landlord claims I caused water damage and he had to replace all the carpets. The judge asks for an invoice or receipt. He has none. Landlord claims I broke the microwave, so the judge reads him the 3 witness statements that all state I didn't break the microwave. Landlord says they're all lying. He still has no evidence whatsoever. At this point, the judge clearly sounds done with his crap and says we'll get the decision in the mail and the call ends. A couple of weeks later, I get the judgment. I'm owed $1,800 and landlord still gets nothing. Well dang, would you look at that? His appeal did not quite work out for him. He goes from owing $650 to owing me $1,800. Being the jerk that he was, he files for a mistrial, claiming I was not sworn in and that I lied in my testimony. Denied. Outside of court, landlord offers a payment plan of $20 a month, which will take 7.5 years to pay back, or otherwise he refuses to pay up. Okay, I see how collecting my money is going to be. I figure out he banks at BOA by looking up the checks I gave him for rent and seeing where they were cashed. I filed for a writ of execution that will allow me to perform a bank levy. It's granted, so I prepare a packet for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to go to BOA and take his money. LACSD serves him with papers and orders BOA to freeze his account. After his allotted time, 30 days, to contest the seizure, LACSD seizes the money plus 10% APY interest plus sheriff fees. I finally get the glorious check in the mail 20 months after moving out. I'll probably frame it. Total $1,893.91. Tips for situations like this. Find a small claims guide. There's a plethora of helpful information out there because everybody wants you to win. Even the court wants you to win. At least in California, they offer a free in-person small claims advisory clinic where employees advise you and walk you through the whole process, making sure you know the process and what to expect. Document everything. Have conversations through text or email if possible for easy screenshots. Photograph everything, even if you don't think it's important because the landlord might just claim you damaged it. Do your research on the law, know what is legal and illegal, and know the penalties for violations. Compile evidence against your landlord and cite the laws that they are breaking. The easier you make it for the judge to see that you're right, the more likely they'll side with you. Get supporting witness statements. It changes the case from he said, she said, where the landlord is calling you a liar, to a 4 versus 1, where the landlord has to call everybody a liar. Just don't commit hearsay. Have them appear in person or have them sign and submit a declaration. Follow procedures to the T. Last thing you want is for your evidence to be thrown out because you didn't send a copy to the defendant at least 10 days before the court date. Come to court prepared and remember to plan properly. Judges like people who are on top of their stuff. If you come to court unprepared, thinking that you can just talk your way to a win, it will be dead obvious. Don't expect the process to be quick. It'll take a while for your landlord to get their comeuppance, but it'll be worth it. At the end of the day, the courts want you to win. It'll just take a while. Brother steals my life savings. I'm a 31-year-old male and currently serve in the British Army. I come from a very poor and broken family. My brother is 30, who also serves in the Army, but a different corps to myself. He lives directly opposite my father's house and lives around 250 miles away. I wasn't raised by my parents and brought up by my grandparents, who were both retired and living off of their state pension. So money was hard, but they did what they could, and I'm thankful. I worked on a local farm since I was 12 to get what other kids had, and often enough money for food. My brother, Martin, was raised by my father and stepmom, who provided for him well. I have several other siblings who my mom raised. There's 8 of us in total. I only talk to one of my siblings, who is my half-sister Sarah. Martin is everything I hate in a person. Mean, big-headed, gloats, and the world evolves around him. All of my mail goes to my father's house. This is normal for people who serve. Over the 10 years, I had managed to save just under 35,000 pounds, which is a huge amount to me. I have lived a simple life saving, where I can and volunteered to deploy on operations, which we get a bonus for doing. I have officially spent over 4.5 years not sleeping in my own bed to achieve this, and my dream of owning my own home, which is something unheard of in my family. Upon returning from my last operational tour, the time came to start looking for a home. I set my budget, got an AIP, agreement in principle, and found an area I liked. When the time came to start moving my money to a separate account, to my shock and horror, I discovered my account had less than 50 pounds in it. I felt sick, horrified, and crushed. I called my bank, hoping it was just a mistake. It wasn't. There had been a number of withdrawals and transfers made over the last 6 months that had cleared the balance. The only information they could give me was a statement showing the account it left and the account number that it was transferred to. I spoke to my stepmom, who has the info of my account, to find out if she had moved it. As she went through the account, she had noticed the account number was my brother's. My blood is boiling now. I called him and let loose on the phone, and after a swift exchange of insults, he admitted to taking it. For those wondering what his excuse was, and I kid you not, "You don't need the money, you don't have a family, probably wouldn't ever have one either, and it's selfish having all that money and not sharing it." He earns above national average, lives comfortably, shoves it in people's faces. For example, when it comes around to Christmas, him and his wife like to post on social media how much they've bought. They literally lay it all over their living and dining room floors, stacked high, and there's no room to walk, as a means to gloat to people who do not have the means to buy as much as them. Here comes the revenge. I'm back into no contact with him. However, I am fully aware of a few things. Martin's wife claims he lives with his mother, so she can claim state benefits for her and his 3 kids. I took leave from work for 3 weeks and go visit my father and stepmom. I record my brother stopping at his house every single day and wrote a log of when he left and returned. My stepmother also informed me he isn't working much because he has told his sergeant major his wife and one of his kids are seriously ill and he needs to be home to take care of them. To clarify, they are not. They are in good health. In the British Army, you get paid full, whether you're off work ill, family issues, etc. A perk of the job. I sent this information to the Department of Work and Pensions, and they launched their own investigation. Aside from being a benefit thief, I then call his sergeant major after a discussion and a few emails of a social media link, which is covered in videos of Martin and his wife always drinking, partying, and a lot of geotagging. He is called back to work immediately. From what he's told my dad, he was given a 2-year promotion ban and an 1,800-pound fine. I do not know how long he had been doing this for. He was also moved camp very quickly after this. His wife has also been ordered to repay a year's worth of benefits back to the taxpayers. Big win for the little people. Lastly, he also wrote off his shiny new car, which is probably where all my money went. As for what he's stolen from me, I've spoken to a legal expert in fraud who seems willing to take my case, and I want to fully press charges and reclaim what I can. My father, on the other hand, has told me not to take this route and proclaims if I do it, it will undoubtedly affect his kids and his ability to get work if he ever left the military due to gaining a criminal record. He has suggested we talk about a repayment plan as he's been punished enough, which I know it will never be repaid. I'm at odds with the guilty feeling. In order to take it to court, I'd have to lodge a formal complaint. However, I am bitter. It's crappy. I worked so hard all of these years to improve my situation in life just to have it all pulled from me. I'm thankful I've still got my health, but life's not been easy and I feel just like giving up. I will update on my decision later. Try to scam me out of my bond? Become blacklisted from renting instead. So this happens around 2 years ago when I first moved to Australia. After 6 months of backpacking around Asia, I landed in Melbourne and couch surfed for a few weeks at my friend's place whilst I was getting on my feet and finding a place to live. After a couple of weeks searching and working, I stumbled across what I thought would be the perfect opportunity for somewhere to stay. The room was advertised on housemates.com, and I'd be living with another girl and her 2 dogs. Amazing, I love animals. What a bonus. So I move into my bedroom in the 2-bedroom townhouse in a nice suburb of Melbourne. 2 months rent up front and a $1,081 bond. I've never rented before, so I admit I was probably a little naive and a bit too trusting. I transferred over the total amount to my housemate, who was the renter of the property. I move in and everything seems grand. A couple of weeks later, I start to realize the person I'm living with is a terrible human being. She hasn't bothered to train her second dog, so it goes to the bathroom all through the house, chews the wires out of the back of the TV, and apparently it has a taste for drywall as well. She doesn't wash her clothes on a regular basis and is just altogether a bit grimy. But I keep my room nice and the rent is reasonable, so I stay. A few months later, my soon-to-be girlfriend comes back from traveling Europe to be with me, and we decide it's probably easier and cheaper if she moves in with me. I asked the girl I'm living with if that's fine and how much she'd like us to pay rent-wise, considering there's another person moving in. We settle on a price and carry on. Now this is where it hits the fan. It's coming towards Christmas time. I have a flight booked back home to England to see my family, and my now girlfriend decides she would like to come and see my hometown as well. Now, to stay another year in Australia when on a working holiday visa, you have to complete 3 months of farm work or work in a regional place. My partner's parents lived in such a place in Australia, so we decided it would be best if we moved out of the place we currently were, went to England for Christmas, then move into her parents' place so I could get work for my second-year visa. After telling this to the girl we were renting with, she tells me, "Well, you forfeit your bond then." We have a massive argument where she tells me that the bond wasn't paid to the bond authority and it was a safer net for her in case I decided to leave without notice. Bear in mind that this is at least a month before we're due to leave. I even offer to find her a replacement, which she declines. Anyway, we come to the agreement that she will return my bond when I leave. On the night before we drive to the airport, me and my partner walk into the house to find her with 4 of her friends in the main room, smoking with no doors or windows open and both dogs in there. The smoke is unbearable, so I tell her to open a window and that I need my bond back now before she forgets. She ignores me and carries on with her friends. We fly to England, have the best holiday, and then move back to Adelaide so I can start my farm work. I told myself I'm not going to get the bond back, and I try to come to terms with this. However, it seemed to be once a month it would pop into my head, and it would infuriate me beyond rational levels. So every time it comes to my mind, I send over a text of, "Hey, where's my bond? Can you please send it over with my banking details and the amount?" No reply. A few more months passed like this with me messaging her and no reply. I tried her Facebook, but she had blocked me, so I can only assume she blocked my number as well. Anyway, I'm due a trip to Melbourne to see some friends and have a good weekend, which obviously reminds me this jerk owes me money. So I look up the property online, find the real estate agents, and send them over an email. In the email, I told the real estate agents of how I paid bond to the girl I was living with, thinking it would be sent on my behalf, and of everything else that had happened to the property whilst I had been there. Dogs chewing through walls, smoking in the house, pets in there, and also illegally subletting her room out to me. I didn't realize this was a thing until my girlfriend mentioned it. I received an email back the next morning asking me for proof of rent and bond being sent and proof of residency, which I sent over and they said they would be in touch. Whilst I am in Melbourne, I receive a phone call from the estate agents telling me that they had been in contact with the girl and have arranged for her to send me my money back. Now, she hadn't blocked my partner on Facebook, so we knew she was on holiday in the States, so that $1,081 would hurt. Karma ensues. A week later, she texts me and asks if I'm happy that I got her kicked out of her house and blacklisted from renting in Melbourne. Yes, I am. Enjoy moving to another state. Pay people what you owe. And shoutouts to our regenerals of the day: Jacob, Hello Darkness My Old Friend, Corey Kiyu, and Little Mama. Become tomorrow's regenerals by leaving as many reads as you can in the comments below, and please listen to my playlist every night when you go to sleep.